Okay, it's October 15th, and we are starting an open space committee meeting, and we are being videoed. Do we want to do the minutes from the last meeting? This is the July 31st meeting.
Okay.
We'll review them and then talk about it. Doesn't not purchase neither of the properties. Who cares whether there's an N on there or not? In the number 7, whatever. Oh, I didn't even notice.
Do you not like the language of that?
Not purchase either. Would it be really or neither? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
It's a moot
That
point.
makes it a double negative if you say neither. So it should be either.
It should be either. Oops.
It would either be purchase neither or not purchase either. My dad was an English professor.
Yeah. Looks good to me.
So that's the only change.
Did I see anything?
Okay, I vote to accept the minutes as with the slight change of neither to either.
You need to make a motion.
Make a motion to accept the minutes with that slight change.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm recusing myself because I wasn't present.
Okay.
Are the June 13th meeting minutes still unavailable?
Did we ever take minutes on that meeting?
Because you have that on the agenda, Sue.
Yeah, I have notes from the meeting that if we didn't take notes that I could submit. Actually,
Well, I don't think,
I think
either.
I was going to.
Yeah, I don't think KG or I were at that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh.
All right,
we didn't
so-
get notes.
I'll see notes from June 13th and record. Okay. Well, I'll write up for next meeting. Review. All right. Okay. Next is the Lucier property that we are mainly here tonight to review. It's very confusing, but basically if we don't really concern ourselves with what was in what she's switching around, then we just look at the property that she wants to sell and has an offer on. Mm-hmm. That's basically what we're here to do, I feel. So, it was online. This is a property that this is Maple and this is this is Monroe
Okay.
and this is Maple Street.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the property. She owns this property. She sold various lots along here over the time. And she has a little, the only weird thing about it is there's just a little tiny right-of-way thing that she's keeping in there that I don't understand, but I don't think it makes any difference. Someone else owns the land next to it. And so this is what which is, I mean, if you hold these two up together, you can see them together. These are really already divided, which I don't understand why they're not on this one. But, so she's
Like a wetland?
I don't think so.
selling
Oh, it could be. I think
this
not.
lot.
Oh, there is a lot.
She's taking, this was the lot previously, so she's taking, or actually this. So she's
yeah.
adding this to this lot, taking this and putting it over to here.
Oh, okay.
But this is Tetro, this is Susan Lucier, I don't know.
What is this lot,
Is this
like
A?
behind it?
Oh, this is A, okay.
See, and
Well, where's Tetro? Behind it?
this, no, see, this is what she's doing, and this is, if you hold this up to the light, you can see that she's already divided these, and there's some houses here and a house over here. So this is already taken up, all this. She's she's selling this piece, she's taking this piece from this piece,
Oh, I see.
and she's
Okay.
putting this piece into this piece,
So she's like switching.
right?
To make it a
To make,
conforming lot.
and to make it right away to the street. But it's just this little weird section I don't understand.
But is this piece a separate owner, or is this all Tetro?
This is Susan Lisa.
So she still owns this, and then Tetro is here?
Right.
Okay.
And
So it
this
doesn't
section-
abut that.
Doesn't abut any
Right,
recreation.
but look at these lots. Shh.
Yeah, that's really weird looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, especially this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What is this little like?
yeah, and this is another one, you know, it's got a little panhandle here. It gets wider.
Yeah.
How many acres is
But if people are willing to buy
Little
that
over
just to
4.
get their 2 acres
Yeah, I
in
mean, I
there.
guess,
Yeah.
you know, if the shape of it doesn't really concern us.
Yeah, right, and
Yeah.
it's not contiguous with anything that
It's
we.
still conforming to the other zoning bylaws.
Yeah, well, that's not our problem either, really. And it's going for $75,000. So I'm sure the town doesn't have 75,000 to.
No.
Well, this can also be assigned, just to
happens-
remind the board members, that this can also be assigned to another entity, another, like a land trust or something else. It doesn't have to be bought by the town.
Right,
The Board
right.
of Selectmen can assign.
If it
their
was
rights.
something that was, yeah,
Right. I just want to be,
a worthwhile piece, that, yeah, right.
yes, but seeing that it doesn't abut any open space,
Right.
and I don't think, you know, it doesn't necessarily have the conservation value that the committee or the town would be looking for in an acquisition. So I would move that we recommend that the selectmen waive their right of first refusal.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will, I'll tell Suzanne that tomorrow. All right. Next is new business and new members. I don't know, we got Becky sitting here all the time. Maybe she wants to join.
Becky, do you live in Douglas? You could be a member.
It's a high-stress position.
to the meetings anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
only
that's-
because
I always felt that way with
I have an interest anyway, so
Do you ever fill out the application?
You have to get sworn in.
yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to have you if you
It's
want.
online.
That'd be cool.
You'd be an excellent addition.
You bring another piece
at.
to it because you have other interests that, you know.
Yeah.
For
the
open
trails,
space. Yeah.
trails component connections.
Yeah. See it from a different perspective.
A horse perspective instead of a dog
Yeah,
perspective.
like 9 feet high instead of.
Yeah, so the application's online?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, great.
So, for the volunteer committee. Should be
You have to take an ethics
Under the
training.
Board of Selectmen or something.
She doesn't need to be approved by the Board of Selectmen, does she? Lisa?
I think she technically does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to like come here, and then all the selectmen were here at big town meeting, and then I had to, I think, take a vow or something, right? That you're gonna
Right,
hold.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
But
have to do
yeah, I
that.
think the selectmen have to approve you. You don't necessarily have to come before the board, but if you
But
can't
it's
make
a,
it.
it's a you know, when we make a decision, it's not necessarily in gold, like, you know, like the conservation or
We
something.
make advisory.
Right, right.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for.
Capacity. Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, and we need 3 members to pass something, so it's always good to have.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, in
We
case
have an
someone can't
alternate
make
for
it.
it, but doesn't come very often. Oops.
All right, I have homework.
Have you thought anything else about what you had brought up at the last meeting you were at?
About the property,
So we could do a site walk or something.
trying to get, the Zilgo one, I forgot about that one. I was thinking about the Ruth Paulette one.
I don't even know that one yet.
That's 2 sections of the Grand Trunk. That's what I was trying to figure out where, because it goes between Monroe and Maple Street,
Oh.
section of the Grand Trunk, and then a section from Monroe over to the pipeline, almost to the pipeline, which parallels the railroad bed.
Mhm.
She wants to get rid of those. I finally found a realtor to talk with about this whole process of getting it appraised and stuff like that, because talking to the guy at Caldwell Banker, Brandon's, I guess, representing her other properties that she's selling. I don't know why she bought those 2 pieces. They're just,
That's what I didn't have
it's not a buildable lot.
Yeah, you're right.
And so for her to actually do anything about that is going to be a little tough. And I think she kept it a bit because Craig said that to try to get that approved as a lot would have to go before some board or something or other. I don't know,
Zoning.
either zoning, probably, yeah. So, I don't know. I
Yeah.
tossed it before the board, our board, to see what their thoughts on that were. Maybe just throwing an offer of what it's appraised for in the town. Because it's not worth
Right.
$40,000 a
Taxes.
piece
Yeah,
on each piece,
right.
is what they were thinking. I'm like, that's not gonna happen.
How big are
Are
they?
there abutters?
Yes.
So has she approached the abutter to see if they want to purchase them?
I don't know if anyone's gone through that problem or not. And I haven't taken a walk through that section to see if it's worthwhile, what it looks like, let's put it that way.
Why don't you bring a map with it delineated
to.
on it?
I forgot about the Zilko thing. Now that things have slowed down a little bit, I can start getting caught up on some stuff.
And it's, this time of year, it's good to walk and see.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Well, the other side of that too is that if these are non-conforming or unbuildable, they're not house lots, is there an access issue? I mean, are they only accessible from the Grand Trunk, or do they have
No,
actual
access from the
frontage?
road. Because one section goes between Monroe and Maple Street.
So,
So
yeah,
it connects
it's,
the 2 streets. So my thought was that, people could go down the railroad bed, walk down the street, hit the Grand Trunk, and then walk back. So that would be a nice loop within the neighborhood. It's kind of what I was thinking.
But is Zugo interested in selling that land?
that's a
Oh,
different one.
Zilko's a
That's a
whole-
different one.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
this
off of the
is-
railroad bed to try to connect to the,
Oh.
all the town-owned property behind the school.
Okay.
Because he's the only one in between, in the middle. And so I was thinking maybe an easement is something to get in there to access the town property, make a loop to come off the railroad bed. That would be also something that, to add to the trail system for the people in town to use.
So who owns these properties?
Her-
The town
yeah.
of Douglas.
Oh.
The town of Douglas, there's a whole bunch of property. I don't have my maps.
So you want
with
to
me.
convince the
My
town to develop it into like trails?
If we would have permission from Mr. Zilko
Cross.
to cross his property from
Oh.
the
To
railroad
all
bed.
the properties
to
behind
get
the
to
schools.
How do we talk to him?
Not yet, I forgot.
So would the other person, depending, you said she's selling other properties?
According to Craig, when he looked on the realtors list, she's selling a piece of property in Uxbridge that actually abuts the railroad bed in the corner of Chocolate Road. It's like 6 acres.
Oh.
Well,
I think
was
I've
just
seen
gonna,
that, yeah. I saw a sign there, I'm like, really?
but depending on a person's tax situation, if they sell a piece of property and all of a sudden they get a big cash influx, they might need to counter that with a tax credit, which they could get in donating a parcel of land to like a conservation commission or a land trust, and then they could balance that so they could actually net more in
On their
cash
taxes.
in the final transaction, so they're not just giving it all to taxes. But I don't know enough of the circumstances to be able to drill down into that, so if you wanted to think about that, I could talk to you more about that some other time.
If she sold the lot, that 6 acres down, which is in sort of a industrial almost area, but I guess if it's touching the railroad bed, it's a good equestrian property too. And that's more of a neighborhood down
Well, they're
there.
touting it for the sales thing. They've got all kinds of pictures of the railroad bed right next to it. So they are definitely pushing the recreational aspect on that piece of property. Big time.
And that's in Uxbridge.
Yes.
So if they sold that one for a piece of money, which is, then they might want to offset that with a donation. Or, like donate one of them that's not in the loop, and keep the other one, or buy the other one yourself, or whatever.
Yep.
Figure it out. Yeah. So, interesting. All right, anybody else want to talk about cleanups next spring?
I think we have time.
So far away.
Commerce Insurance did all of Route 16, all around the lake, up Wallem Lake Road.
Wow.
Oh, is that who I saw people out one day and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure who it was.
It was
Okay.
a Friday. They must have, instead of work, they got that.
Ah,
Huh.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, their community service.
It's good.
Is there any update on Castle Caves?
Not that I know of.
I got the tax taken.
Which one would you contact of the owners?
No, it might be in a different status. It might be beyond them right now. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll talk to Carol. But I would just, it was in the, I can't remember which paper, but I just wanted to, I thought the committee could just give a shout out to Massimo Fontaine for the little boardwalk that he built for his Eagle Scout project that's in the property on Mumford Street that's actually dedicated to my dad. And he just did that, I think, last month with some volunteers and some resources that they pulled together, and there's pictures in the paper.
Yeah, I saw the
It looks
article
really good.
about that. Yep.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
Have you been on it?
No, well, the
Yeah.
photos looked great,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Go
He
check-
wrote
did
that
you?
article. I thought that was, but yeah,
Did
I've
he?
been on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, kudos to him. I think it's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
Get people out to enjoy the property more and
Yeah.
yeah.
works with the
Yeah,
open space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Well, you want to schedule another meeting, our next meeting before the end of the year, one more, or?
I mean, so what would we talk about? Like, do we need to discuss further things?
Really? I mean, if something comes up and we wanted to talk about something, we could just make a meeting,
Mhm.
So, I've been of two minds about this thing, and Becky, I'm sure you know more about this, but the state has requirements of every town to do an open space and recreation plan, which we've never gone to the nth degree to do. But when you do that, you get points if you want to apply for funding for a park or open space or other things like that. If you don't have that, it's you're less likely to get the grant, is what I'm saying. It is quite a bit of work. And then I always sort of go back and forth because we have so much state property that then if we're asking for more money to invest in another property or a park, but I think it's a park or a walkway, it would
Yeah, it could be like enhancing the
Mhm.
properties.
Or in a different, I mean,
And
all the
finding
land
links.
is on one
Yeah.
side of town, too.
Finding links
People-
within the community
Linkages,
to.
right.
Yeah.
Linkages, I personally think is really important. I'm seeing so many more people out on the railroad bed and just trails, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. But I think we need some kind of, if it's not an open space or recreation plan, then maybe we should formalize a little bit more, what are the linkages that we could pursue? Instead of always like coming to a meeting and brainstorming or something, or do we get to a point where we hire a consultant to come up, and give us a bona fide report that we can then say, okay, next year's budget, this is what we want to go for.
We do get the $500 every year that we could hire someone to start picking away at an open space plan. I mean, you worked on it for a year, right?
Is that
I
enough money
worked
to
on
pay
it for a
someone?
year. We didn't get anywhere. Just, I mean, we got places, but then it just changed. I sent it in to be approved, and they said, nice start.
Oh.
2 years of work is a nice start. It was a little disheartening. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
right in the
bet.
box, honey.
Well, they want you to do a survey, basically,
Yeah.
which I think the first one we timed with town meeting, so at least we got a decent response, but it's like, what are the recreation goals of the community? And then today with technology and GIS and everything, they want you to be specific about your plans, and then you have to update the thing every 5 years, I think it is. But it does give you a master plan for what you want recreation and open space
Goals, yeah.
to look like in the community. So maybe we should revisit, what kind of documentation can we pull together? And if you go on, or I can send everybody the link to the open space plan information.
A lot of that is already done because it was just, a lot of geographical, like what kind of soils do you have in town and all that kind of stuff
That'd
that's
be on like NastGIS.
hasn't changed, but
Yeah,
it's
you
already
just have
done.
to compile it all.
It was already, you compiled it and I, did some too. So,
Yeah, but the zoning has since changed, some of the properties have been purchased or whatever, so, all that has to be modified, but, even though we have that large parcel, state forest, and then we have the trunk line trail and everything, I think the linkages are important, because if you're just having to go and come back in the same way, things like that, we could really build some of the possibilities. But without a plan, they're not gonna give us any money. That's the bottom line. So I will circulate the link.
maybe we could put down all the trails that are there and then see which ones we could
Yeah, I need a comprehensive
Work.
map.
to loop with.
Like, I guess if we had a map of like where the trails are and then what's conservation land, and then you also had a map of like every property boundary, and you looked at them on top of each other, then you could see like each parcel individually. So is it possible to obtain something like that?
Ask Steve, there's, we do, the trails aren't on them, but we can get the property lines and state land, and we have maps like that have been printed out, so we could print a new one out
Okay.
and put property lines on them, trails on them.
But without visuals, sometimes it's hard for people to understand, like what they could access or.
Well, we were saying, like, to be able to put it on the phone, too, like a map on the phone for people with the linkages and stuff like that.
It's a good Boy Scout project. Girl Scout project.
Yeah, we can send all the Boy and Girl Scouts on hikes, and they can like map out the trails for us.
Yeah, because they have the technology.
They know how to use the smartphones.
Yeah,
I've done a few of them
yeah,
that aren't on the official maps.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I found one yesterday. Yeah, I think I'll turn around. Yeah.
But it would be great to rate some of the trails, because we have a decent-sized elderly population, and they sometimes get apprehensive about going out by themselves or going for a walk, and it's like, you can say, no, this one's pretty flat, you just use a staff or something, and you can go
Right.
out and enjoy it
Easy
too.
to-
So maybe that's a possibility.
Like a description of each trail.
Yeah, I don't,
It
well,
just seems like an ambitious project.
Well, I mean, we need to do something, you know, rather than just meet to go over people taking land out of 61.
Yeah.
And hate every second of it. Yeah, that sounds,
So like we could schedule a meeting where we get together and actually look at these maps. So if like someone is able to pull them out, then we can all look at them and try to, you know, trace over them or something. Make a list of parcels.
I mean, I can get all the ones from the state, go across the street and talk to them about any. There's a lot of new ones that people,
There are,
they,
yeah.
motor, you know, the
Oh, dirt bikes?
cyclists. Not motor, but,
Dirt
yeah, dirt
bikes.
bikes, yeah, the regular bikes. Mountain
Mountain
bikes,
bikes,
mountain bikes,
yeah.
yes.
mountain bikes are fat wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mountain
Right.
bikes mainly, right? Because Carrie's given them permission to cut new trails and whatnot. Actually, it might have stopped, but for a while they were cutting a lot of new trails with, I mean, they go to him first and tell them where they were gonna cut it.
But that's all on the west side of town, to Becky's
Right,
point. I
right.
mean, what's on the east side? and
Inside a track
some of the other-
at the school that you have to use during certain hours and that's boring. Yeah.
I don't know, if we start it, then we could have maybe a session, an open session where we invite people in and say, if you have other visions or, you know, share what you think
We
would
could
be
bring
a
it
great
to different
possibility.
meetings, like conservation meeting, we could present it there or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it doesn't involve wetlands, they're
Yeah.
not particularly concerned about it, but we worked some for a river walk that's downtown, that would go like from the ball field down to.
B Street, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and around like that. I mean, I think that's still a possibility.
Right, it's not, we're not gonna get that land, but we can still use B Street.
Well, or maybe we could get an easement or something. I mean,
Yeah, he never really wanted to get back to us on it, but, yeah. Even a bench, just a bench down there to sit on,
Yeah.
you know, and with the $500 that we get every year, we could get a couple benches probably to sit along B Street and relax while you do the loop or whatever. And that's what my idea before was, to mark out the distances so that if they wanted to just do a half mile or a mile or whatever.
Oh, little mile markers.
Or, you know, just on the map or whatever.
Mm.
so I'll send the open space and recreation plan guidelines or whatever. It's a big project, but we could also modify something that wouldn't qualify for the state, but that could at least give us a strategic plan to figure out where we want to go with any kind of acquisitions or trails.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a few years since we sent out a questionnaire for people to, and that was before, so they could turn it in at town meeting when they went or when they voted.
Right.
Yeah.
Get it out before
Make it
November
easy.
6th.
Yeah, I think if people have to like mail it in on their own, then it'll probably get thrown in the trash. Like you have to make it really convenient for people to hand it in.
Can
Yeah.
you do something like use a Survey Monkey
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
as opposed to paper?
Right.
Then how
There's
do
a
you like
couple
contact
options.
people? Like how do you know who to send the survey to?
We could put it up on the town website. On Facebook, there's Douglas Dynamics. You could post it there.
Oh, okay.
Send it to your friends in town.
Yep.
Start building an email list.
Put it in the paper. The
Yeah.
Tribune
We have 2 or 3 different papers we could put it on.
to spread the word.
Survey
Yeah.
Put a deadline.
Survey
Need
monkey.
responses back by.
.com.
There, let's see.
That would just give us we could design it so we could get a better idea of what people might be, forget the dog people, they're just taking over the world. How many people out there riding horses? How many are riding the mountain bikes, How many just want to walk?
Right.
So,
Maybe like what parts of town do you go to see?
And what
like-
they like about what they have and what they think they could be introduced that they would like.
Yes, how far in town will you drive to access a trail? That's in the car to go to the trail to go.
I know.
Oh,
Where's your starting point? That's another.
And then you have things like, okay, well, if you show the dog that you just go down the driveway, down the road, then the dog will take itself for a walk, right? So maybe you need to get in the car to drive across the street to start from that side.
Point. I
Find the
never thought
dog.
about it that way.
Yeah, so you think it's a good thing, huh?
Right. Where's the dog?
On a walk. Yeah, but, yeah.
All right, so it was my suggestion that we meet the next two, what was it? Was it second or third Wednesday?
Yeah, you were, well, we were shooting for this
But
one
you
to
can't
be the
do-
third.
Wednesdays?
I can do Tuesdays.
Oh, you can't do Tuesdays,
I
okay.
mean, Monday is a pretty good day for me. Does everyone like Mondays?
I don't care.
You said
These
you
are
like
fine.
Mondays?
Yep.
Yeah, that's usually pretty good.
Okay. So you want to meet in what, like 3 Mondays from now?
Well, it's like if we just had a regular date
Oh,
as the
okay.
third Monday of the month, then we could just mark it and not always be like, oh, I have 5 other things and I forgot
Yeah, and
about
then
it.
you'll know.
Yeah.
But at least through the end of the year, which is 2 more.
17th and, or the 19th and the 17th?
Yeah.
So Mondays.
So it'd be
are-
November 19 and December 17.
Third Mondays.
Every third Monday.
Now, it does put, oh, when is conservation is, well, we can modify it if we need to. Today, it's the third Monday. So they meet the third Monday too, but we can just figure out what we would need to do if we need to go to a meeting.
So should we do like off Mondays from them? Like what if we did the second Monday?
No, we do
Oh.
totally different things. If we got to
Yeah.
that point, we could
We
just.
haven't really
Sometime
met with
later.
them in the past,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
When is town meeting?
Oh, shoot.
Is it the 12th?
Did they post it yet?
I thought I saw something about it somewhere.
The 13th.
12th of November? I think it can't be because it's, that's Veterans Day.
The 13th.
I think it's the
Ew.
13th.
13th. Thought I had something else the 13th. Oh. We scheduled a cultural council meeting.
I don't think it's on the board yet, so you can go check, but
Mm.
I'm pretty sure it can't be the 12th, so.
So can I just like summarize what our takeaways from the meeting are? So Sue said she would get the June 13th minutes right now. So we'll look at those next time. And then we voted to waive the first right of refusal.
Yeah.
And then we talked about creating this strategic open space and recreation plan where we want to like look at the mapping and find linkages. And then Becky brought up sending out a survey through SurveyMonkey to see what people are interested in. And then we talked about making a consistent schedule. So does that seem like we talked about all the
And we-
points?
And we recognize the efforts of Massimo
Yes.
Fontaine.
Oh, yeah.
For
Okay.
his boardwalk, Eagle Scout project.
Mhm.
Good.
All right.
Now, does Suzanne Kane get these minutes? So, like, when I fix those words, should I send them to her or should I send them to
No.
you?
To Chris?
Chris Furno, I think, right?
I send them to Chris Furno?
Yeah,
Okay. So I'll do that.
all right. Okay, anything else? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.